And now to the big story of the day. India and Pakistan agreed to normalize their economic relations, setting an ambitious target of more than doubling bilateral trade in 6 billion within 3 years. Both the sides are also agreed to expeditiously conclude the new liberalized visa regime before November 2011. Pakistani Commerce Minister Makhdoom Amin Fahim, who is accompanied by a 50-member business delegation, is the first Pakistani Commerce Minister to visit India after more than 35 years.
India and Pakistan on Wednesday agreed to normalize their economic relations, setting an ambitious target of more than doubling bilateral trade to $6 billion from the current $2.7 billion within 3 years. Pakistan has also agreed to implement all the obligations under the South Asian Free Trade Area Agreement, meeting long-pending demand from India. Both the sides also agreed to expeditiously conclude the new liberalized visa regime before November 2011, when the commerce secretaries of both the countries meet again. As a goodwill gesture, New Delhi will support Islamabad in WTO for European Union proposal to extend duty benefits to Pakistani textiles, a concession given by EU on account of floods in Pakistan.
We have agreed to ensure that there is further liberalization of trade regime and to double the bilateral trade from the present $2.7 billion to $6 billion within the next 3 years. We remain optimistic that the steps that we have taken and the steps which are in the pipeline will lead to realization of this target.
We are here to resolve any bottlenecks in the regime of trade and business, like the question of visas and so many little problems, and those will be sorted out by both the sides and during the meetings of the secretary level.
On Pakistani demand for allowing cross-border investments, India said that it would take an early decision on the issue. Further, for normalizing the business ties, both the ministers also agreed that all mutual obligations contracted under SAFTA would be implemented with full sincerity. On India's demand for the most favoured nation status by Pakistan, Commerce Minister of Pakistan said that things are moving forward according to plan. The Pakistani side also said that it would allow imports from India on all but few items in the negative list. Petroleum imports from India would also be allowed. Nitesh Mishra, DD News, New Delhi.
And to discuss more on that, we have now in our studio, we're joined by our guest, Mr. Vikramjit Singh Sahney, Senior Vice President, SARC. Welcome to the studio, sir. And of course, we are also joined by Mr. Iftikhar Ali Malik, Vice President, SARC, Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Pakistan. Thanks very much for joining us, gentlemen. First, let's begin with the big story. Of course, we know India and Pak have agreed to normalize trade relations, which is a very welcome thing. We were waiting for this for quite some time. But at the same time now, commerce ministers have, in fact, the Pakistani commerce minister has visited India for the first time in 3.5 decades. That's a very important thing, and both sides, only it underscores that how important is this meeting. Both sides attach too much of importance to it. Normalizing trade relations, how feasible does it look, the target sets today? Because one of the targets is that the trade might just double, in fact more than double in some time. There has been a deadline to it as well. But how easy does it look?
Because the official trade currently between India and Pakistan is 2 billion, and we personally feel that the target of 6 billion can easily be achieved, because there is a lot of indirect trade also happening through the third countries. And it is the responsibility of the business fraternity of the two nations to have a very peaceful coexistence. So I think last 2 days the deliberations between the Indian businessmen and the Pakistan businessmen of repute have taken place to bring peace and prosperity into this region, and that's why a lot of positive steps have been taken. To start trade facilitation, we need connectivity. And for connectivity, it is very important to have the liberalized visa regime, at least for the bona fide businessmen and women. So we are very happy that both the commerce ministers and both the governments have agreed to consider and implement issuance of multiple visas as we get for other countries. to visit each other countries and not city specific, and without any sort of police reporting, to have to generate that sort of business confidence. And together with the connectivity of course communication is needed, more flights are needed. So I feel that today's deliberations are very congenial to pave way for the greater economic cooperation, which is very beneficial for the whole SAARC region and India and Pakistan in particular.
Absolutely, very crucial also for both sides. But talking about the Pakistani side of story, sir, now sir has said that the connectivity is one of the most important things between India and Pakistan to facilitate better trade relations. But how flexible does Pakistan look at it, and how do you think reaching the target of about $6 billion in next couple of months looks?
I am fully representing the private sector of Pakistan,
Okay.
and I fully endorse Vikram Singh's view, connectivity.
Right.
But with connectivity, we have to keep up the consistency, commitment, and caliber and courage to endorse all what we have talked today.
Right.
And I am very happy and comfortable with Anand Sharma ji and the Makhdoom Amin Saab that talks for very, very sort of soft
Constructive.
and cool in a good atmosphere. We discussed the hurdles as visa problems. There are normally 100 trucks standing at the borders and perishable item. We want to, the fruits and vegetable are also going. Then we have discussed various other sides, joint ventures, machinery as well. We see if we open LCs and we take 6 months from the shipment through Karachi, and we can have through over here. Our investments are just very favorable in that condition. But in that sense, that lot of investment time is taken long, and after getting the unorganized, irregular channels trade also, and we can 10 billions, of which I presume is that the target is the going towards that sector as invoicing and all. But if the connectivity or the contact, person to person contact is very important. This way, I am already involved in from last, me and Vikram Singh from last 15 years in this SAARC Chamber of Commerce. This is the work today. We are having some fruits, and such a big delegation is the fruit. The private sector has taken that efforts with the Indian Federation Chamber of Commerce and the Pakistan Federation Chamber of Commerce and Industry has done a lot of work, the private sector of both countries. And this is the economic world, it's a private sector world. I think the problems which was not solved years and years back, the private sector will come forward and give something better to this nation. So we have peaceful regional cooperation. We are already with 5% SAARC trade share. We want to improve. We are myself, I'm Vikram Saab representing the SAARC country, 8 countries, and the two main bulls is the India and Pakistan. Once they get into cordial relations and a peaceful environment, which is the need of time, I am very, very hopeful that I am already a seasoned traveler in various delegations, with the exchange of delegations, and in November, as the Commerce Minister said that he will bringing a delegation to Pakistan of businessmen. I think with these few words and relaxing ourselves, and there are potential of joint ventures. And why not? The way the stocks are going in other countries, the Indian entrepreneurs should come forward. We would love to have more technology.
Absolutely.
We should share the technology, economy of scales, R&D, research and development. And when if a machine is coming, if the person who comes to engineer and he doesn't have the visa with him, how the machinery can come enter in our country if the maintenance, service and erection. So this visa problem, I think this should be immediately cleared, and I think with the frequent visitors of the businessmen coming over here, then rest we will manage
Absolutely,
ourselves.
sir. Now, Mr. Iftikhar Ali has pointed out at problems on the ground when people want to work, but because of the visa regime, there are obstacles and other obstacles too. But sir, he also spoke about the private investment.
Yes.
How soon do you see Indian investments going to Pakistan now?
First, we have to start with very liberalized visit, because how business develops, how we together do business, as he knows, we have been working for last 2 decades on people to people contact. We all know our common heritage, our common language, our shared histories. But for business, confidence building measure is very important. Now we have decided, because under SAARC also the various governments have agreed to issue the SAARC stickers to the bona fide businessmen of all the countries. And today this historic decision to issue multiple visas to the businessmen. So I think this will be the first step. The trade, as Mr. Iftikhar, Malik have said, there's a lot of complementarity, comparative cost advantage between the countries. Like we have petroleum products which can go there, we have tea, sugar, spices, pharmaceuticals, textile machinery. Similarly, we can import, they are rich in gas and natural resources. So I think before investment, first trade has to proceed, and then leading for joint ventures, not only between India and Pakistan, but also third countries, like bringing the LNG gas pipeline, having the joint energy grid between the two countries. And we have also decided today between FICCI and FPCCI, supported by both the Government of India and Government of Pakistan, to hold Made in India exhibition in Pakistan and Made in Pakistan exhibition to be held in Delhi. So I think these measures will go a long way, because I personally feel that we have inherited this, our land, from our ancestors, and we all persons, especially the business community, are liable, are obligated to hand it over to the younger generation in much better form than we have inherited. So I think business community have to take a lead to bring peace and prosperity among India and Pakistan as very cordial neighbors and have peaceful coexistence.
Precisely why the visit of business delegation from Pakistan is being encouraged, and it's expected again after this. But coming to you, Mr. Iftikhar, now there is a problem that India has been reiterating, a bit of a hurdle, that the most favored nation status hasn't been granted to India so far, though so much of positivity is coming in from Pakistan, so many talks together, and people from Pakistan are also willing to take forward the trade to a great extent. Then why this hurdle?
I feel that this meeting is going to pave a way for a better future, and in future few months you will hear the good news. We have already discussed coming over here. There were joint secretarial meetings, joint meetings of the ministerial meetings, and there are 28 points. Already, if you go through, sometime you bring on the talk show that points. So those Vikram Singh Sahab, and you will see that in the step by step there are other points, say transmission line, petroleum exchanges product, joint BT cotton exchange programs, joint ventures, so extra and extra, there are a lot of things. So I think the understanding which the joint ministerial or secretarial meetings, that has to linked up, and definitely we stand ultimately for a most favored nation. With in future you will see, let us, if we have wasted another so much years.
I would only like to add that I think a people to people contact, our brothers and sisters from Pakistan already consider us as most favored friends. So why not Pakistan considers us most favored nation? But today the Commerce Minister of Pakistan have said that he will be very soon moving from this positive list. As you know, currently we have only about 2,000 items which Pakistan allows, but they have assured us that there will be commerce secretaries are meeting in November, in 2 months time, and we are very hopeful that within 2011 we are hopeful that Pakistan will move from this positive list to few sensitive items, and all trade will be free open.
Right, sir. Lots of hopes there. Let's hope it actually works in the positive direction. We'll continue with the discussion after this story. Further, industry chambers from India and Pakistan have hailed the agreement agreed to between both the countries, which will further normalize the economic ties and help in achieving $6 billion trade. The industry chambers also affirmed that fully normalized commercial link would strengthen the bilateral relationship and build the bridges of friendship, trust and understanding for mutual benefit of their people and promotion of prosperity in South Asia.
I feel our trade is going to multiply. They have agreed that they will increase the trade in 3 years to $6 billion. I'm sure if we get the visa facilities, which they have already announced yesterday, the problem is that we get a visa after 6 to 8 weeks only for 2 or 3 cities. But now they agreed for the bona fide, I repeat, bona fide businessmen will get visa for 1 year multiple for the whole country. If that's the split, I can assure you the trade in 3 years will not be $6 billion, it will be more than $12 billion.
And with that, it's time to slip in a quick commercial break. When we return, we'll continue with the discussion. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching Business Wrap, and today we have in our studios with us Mr. Iftikhar Ali Malik, Vice President of SARC Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and also Mr. Vikramjit Singh, who's again a Senior Vice President, in fact, of the SARC Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Now, welcome again, sir. To begin to continue with the discussion, we've spoken about the importance both the countries, India and Pakistan, attach to the bilateral trade, to promoting trade and commerce further between both the countries. Also, now that the commerce ministers have met of both the countries, they've decided on doubling the bilateral trade in about 3 years' time. Now, the ground reality, the hurdles and obstacles which might bar from continuing with the kind of targets we have set. Coming to you, Mr. Vikramjit Singh Sahney, once again. Pakistan has been encouraging the economic trade with India now, we've seen for quite some time, but one of the hurdles that Pakistani side faces is the non-tariff problems, the procedural problems. Yeah. How do you see the NTB problems being addressed by the Indian side?
So basically, we have also deliberations for 2 days. And basically what we like India have already opened 16 trade points, which Pakistan also has to, accept. And I think we personally feel that Atari-Wagah border, there has to be a lot of infrastructure built up on the either side of Atari-Wagah border in terms of the warehouses, cold storage even chains, the complete logistic system, because now we find a lot of trucks queue up and that slows down the procedure, because now we saw cement coming from Pakistan and there were a lot of hurdles. Cotton going from India, from here, if it has to go via Karachi, as Malik Sahab was saying. So I think we have to create infrastructure at the entry and the border points, and with the better financial institutions, the trade transaction time has to be cut, because we don't have like banks connectivity. For example, the Indian banks are not there, and now, but there is a talk like SBI being there or Habib Bank being here. So these 2 or 3 steps would really help the ground level businessman to cut across the trade transaction time and to achieve the actual trade.
Absolutely, Mr. Iftikhar. Now, of course, India is all set to address all the problems being faced by Pakistan. But at the same time, you said Pakistan is also working on some sort of a positivity to grant India the most favored nation status. Also, India is expected to support Islamabad and WTO for European Union proposal to extend duty benefits to Pakistani textiles. Again, a good news coming in from for Pakistan?
Yes, we will write that in this European Union, India must vote for us.
Right.
Because if our textile picks up, now both countries, India and Pakistan, has to care for the common man, the poor people.
Yes.
There have and have not differences going up. And we, private sector, strongly wish the political will should be coming up. Because I will rather say in hospitality, health hospitality, if you are giving 20 times more, you are going to other countries, Europe and America for the medical, and believe me, your medical treatment, health care, which I feel, I had to bring, is only 25% as compared to other countries. Last week, somebody wanted a medicine of the cancer. Bone cancer. So I had, out of sympathy, one of my friend has a visa for the sticker, for the SARC sticker. Right. He went within 24 hours and kept the cool in ice and brought it with with him. So these hurdles, if we don't get to the humanity, humanity in touch is very important.
True, sir.
That I think, with this other say, economic, we have the benefits of the business, 2 plus 2 is 4, or he will call, but his health care, I think,
true,
that sectors make, if one patient is coming, 500 people give a more voice message.
Absolutely,
he will forget the
so
past.
Let's
so this
hope.
kind of synergy between India and Pak businessmen, as Mr. Malik says, it will really benefit the poor people of both the countries, which is the
Absolutely,
need
and
of the hour.
let's hope the initiative taken by the commerce ministers of both the sides really reaps benefits to both the sides again.
Together
Thank you
with
so
the
much.
private sector businessmen.
Absolutely, sir. All the economic and trade relations. Thank you so much for joining us, gentlemen, on Business Wrap this evening.
Thank you.
And food inflation has risen to 9.13% for week ended